Hi students, I am Padma Priya, Chartered Accountant. From today onwards, I'll be taking your mercantile laws. So, coming to my introduction, I was an ex-banker. I worked as a manager for Indian Overseas Bank. Later, have resigned to pursue my passion, that is teaching. So, it feels a bit strange, like explaining it virtually. But still, in case of any doubts, you may definitely contact JAM's administration. I'll be very much thankful to you. In case if you're able to give me your comments or doubts, I'll in turn reply to you in the next class. So coming back to the subject called as mercantile law, what exactly is meant by mercantile? What is this word mercantile? Mercantile refers to merchant-based laws. Merchant means trading. Yeah. Merchant-based traders. Yeah. So many people. See, all the economies in the world are based on trading. Right? Giving money, the money gets rotated. Receiving money, giving money, having the because of that, selling particular goods or purchase of certain goods or making a transaction of sale. It can be a movable property or an immovable property. So depending on it, there are certain rules and regulations that govern them. Why do we need these rules and regulations now? What is the necessity? Can we do it? See, the most important thing when a law is framed or a legal framework is created, the basic intention is to provide for running of the business in a smooth and comfortable manner. It's just not possible just everybody having their own set of laws. There should be a certain law of land. That's why we have governments. Yeah, a certain law of land based on which a particular legal obligations are set so that both the buyer or the seller or the parties to a particular transaction are not given concealment. Concealmenters are they don't certain facts are not hidden, which in turn results in a fraud. So all these laws have been enacted for that. So in foundation, what are the various laws which you are going to study? Merchant laws, which forms the basis, the very basis for your CA. And why do we need to study these laws? We need to study these laws because we need to understand. As a chartered accountant, you'll be called as an auditor. What does an auditor do? Any one of you having an idea? Anyway, an auditor is a person who verifies the economic transactions of an organization. Economic means in the sense something concerned with wealth. How it behaves. Wealth. Study of economics means study of wealth. As an auditor, you are supposed to verify that various transactions and organization enters into accounts for whether they're being done correctly or not, and what is the exact profit they're going to get, and from that profit whether they're paying right amount of taxes to the government or not. So for this purpose, you definitely need to know the laws of the land. And when they are doing business, you're supposed to verify whether they're following the respective laws of the land. Only then you'll be in a position to comment whether it is correct or incorrect. So the very purpose of learning mercantile laws or any other laws later in your CA journey, like Income Tax Act or let's say GST and so on, is to verify the legality of the transactions entered into by an organization. So now what are the various laws which you're going to study in CA Foundation? First and foremost, you'll be studying about Contract Act, Partnership Act, Sale of Goods Act, then you have got Companies Act. Before that, you have another act called as LLP, that is Limited Liability Partnership Act. Limited Liability Partnership Act. The ones who have taken commerce in your +2 might have an idea of Partnership Act and what a company is. What is a partnership? What is a company? What is a proprietorship? Here we'll be learning about as to how this act actually determines those businesses which have been incorporated either as a partnership or as a company or a limited liability. But usually the very first act talks about contracts. Contract Act. I'll be starting our discussion today with Contract Act. Then this act pertains to sale of goods. The next one is the Partnership Act. So, before taking up the various acts, let me first tell you how these laws are written actually. You must have heard something called as section and subsection. Section and subsection. Might have heard all these either in your movies or outside, whatsoever you'll be getting these particular topics known as section so and so, subsection so and so, this person has committed so and so crime, so he's supposed to be punished. So, do you think what exactly does it mean, section? Section in regular English language refers to a part, a particular part. In law, section means usually laws are divided into various points 1, 2, 3, 4, as per so and so, as per so and so, the first line, the second line, so and so. So, section refers to this particular category. So and so have been defined in section 1. As per this, a particular topic had been actually defined. As per so and so section, a particular topic had been defined. So, subsection means just like subtopics, you have further description of this definition in these subsections. Let's say A, B, C and D. So that is called as section 1, subsection A. Please remember, these sections have to be read like this. Section 1, subsection A. And section, so short form is SEC. Section 1, subsection B. Section 1, subsection C. And so. So I want you to perfectly understand what exactly a section is, what a subsection is, because we'll be dealing with them throughout our course. See, especially when we are studying laws. Here we call it as mercantile laws. In IPCC, we'll call it as corporate and allied laws. So now, let us talk about Contract Act 1872, one of the oldest acts. Contract Act 1872. So what does this Contract Act refer to? Why had it been incorporated? What do you mean incorporated or enacted? What is the meaning of enacted? Enacted means it had been written or it has been framed by the government, and it is required to be followed by the people who come under purview of this act. So that is called as enacted. Enacted means, when was it enacted? 1873. What does it talk about, Contract Act? Definitely contracts. Why contracts? Why do we need an act for this? So for this, we primarily have to understand what is a contract. So in this act also we'll have sections like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these contracts have been given in section 2, subsection H of this particular act. The particular contracts have been mentioned in section 2, subsection H of the act. So what exactly is a contract? I'll just write down the definition first, then we'll make a small flowchart about it. What is a contract? A contract is, as per law, in section 2, subsection H, it has been defined as a contract is I'll write it over here, an agreement enforceable in law. What do you mean by an agreement? What do you mean by the word enforceable? So, agreement means, let's say, a meeting of minds, or let me say, two people coming together and framing and agreeing upon something. Yeah. What are the regular definitions for an agreement? What exactly do you mean by an agreement? Two people consenting over a single kind of transaction with similar kind of mindset. They should not be having any miscommunications in between. The law says a contract is something as an agreement enforceable by law. What do you mean by enforceability? It should be just coming across about it. What do you mean by enforceability? I just wanted to check up this section. So that is true. What do you mean by enforceability? Enforceability refers to something which can be enacted in court of law. What do you mean by that? There is something, it can be tried in court of law. In case of any offence, the law will permit a person to file a case against another person. That is the aggrieved party. Aggrieved party is the one who has suffered any damage or loss, definitely can file a case against another person. That is called as what? Enforceability. That is, this particular transaction should be in such a manner that in case of any problem, the court should be in a position to accept it and definitely give a judgment on it. So that is called as enforceability. It should have a legal, it can be tried legally. The contract can be tried legally. So that is called as enforceability. Then comes agreement. Agreement, do we have a definition? Yes, we do have a definition, and this definition is given in 2 subsection E. I hope everyone's understood what a contract is. Now let us go to agreement. An agreement is something, as per section 2, subsection E. An agreement has been defined as a promise or a set of promises that form consideration for each other. What do you mean by that? See, here you have to know two terms. A promise. What do you mean by a promise? Is it defined in the Act, madam? Yes, very much it had been defined in the Act. A promise or a set of promises that form consideration. Consideration means what? Here please understand, and right now from here after, consideration means something, a benefit, a written benefit. Like sale consideration means what? What is the consideration for a sale? When a person makes a sale, what is his consideration? He receives money, some benefit on doing certain work as per layman terms. What do you mean by a consideration? A particular benefit because of doing certain work. So a promise, or I'll explain what a promise is very shortly. A promise or a set of promises that form consideration for each other. So fine, what do you mean by a promise exactly? So promise is something which you might have known in your childhood as something like as keeping up one particular word or keeping up one particular act. Like let's say you've made a small promise to your brother that you are not going to reveal some secret of his. Like let's say he ate some chocolate in the night against the wish of your parent. So now your brother comes into an agreement and says, "Chalo, you don't tell this, I'll also give you another chocolate." Partners in crime, right? So now you make a promise. But do you think that promise is enforceable in court of law? Usually no. I've just given you an example. In a promise, there are two parties. They agree upon something. And once they have agreed, what is the consideration your brothers got? Consideration your brothers got is you're not going to tell your parent about it. And what is your consideration? Your brother is going to share a chocolate with you. So see, there is a consideration for each other. Both of them should have a consideration. That is called as a promise. I mean to say an agreement. Section 2 subsection B is an agreement. It talks about an agreement. This is an agreement. Fine. Madam, agreement is clear, contract is clear, but what is meant by promise? Do we have any definition for promise also? Yes, very much we have a definition for promise. So what exactly is a promise? I'm erasing it over here and I'll explain it. What exactly is a promise? Is it defined in the Contract Act? Yes, very much. Promise is a person. I'll first write it in a flowchart mode. See, when definitions are given in law, usually it is always better not to skip any part of it. And moreover, the law usually gives a definition in such a manner so as to cover all the aspects, so that people don't bring out loopholes from that definition and act in a manner which is quite discerning. Discerning means not correct. So a person to whom the proposal is made, signifies, I'll explain what a proposal is. Signifies his assent thereto. What do you mean by thereto? On it. Thereto means something, refer to this. Or you can write it as about it. Thereto means about it. This is Shakespeare in English terms. So don't get confused. If you have any doubt about these kind of terms, please feel free to ask me. Signifies his assent. The person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto. Then proposal is said to be accepted. Yeah. And accepted proposals, then accepted proposals are considered promise. Are considered as a promise. So just now we have learned what a contract is. We have got the definition of what exactly is meant by a contract. We said an agreement enforceable by law. Simple. Then okay, fine. Agreement enforceability. Enforceability, I gave you a meaning, something which can be tried in court of law. Then what is meant by an agreement? Agreement is something, a promise or a set of promises which form consideration for each other. A person makes a sale, he receives a consideration. The buyer had got his product, the seller had got his money. So both of them mutually, there is a benefit. That is called as what? An agreement. Can this transaction be tried in court of law? Yes, in case of the piece is defective or in case if there is some problem with regard to the consideration, obviously they can try in court of law. There is enforceability also. Fine. Then I have mentioned that promise or a set of promises. What exactly does the law talk about a promise? Promise means, do you think all those regular promises which you make with your friends or your parents or your brothers? Is there any close connection with it? Usually no. The promise which is defined in law is, let's say a proposal had come to a person. As of now, please remember, proposal refers to something, an offer given by a person. An offer. Let me say that I have asked a person to sell me a particular fruit. That is an offer. Okay? And now that person is ready to sell me. That is what signifies as assent. Assent means agreement. Agreement in the sense, in your regular English sense, is okay with it. He's not saying that I'll not sell you that fruit. He said, okay, madam, please select your choice. I'll sell it. So signifies his assent regarding what? Regarding that sale of the fruit. What is that? That is my proposal. Signifies his assent to it or about it. Then the proposal is accepted. See, we have accepted that particular proposal. And accepted proposal is considered as a promise, mind you, in legal terminology as per contract. So hope you're clear with it. These terms are quite important. They can be asked as short answer questions. So be very careful. And regarding sections, as I told you, they're just the different as to how a law had been divided while reading. Unless and until you're very sure about the section numbers, please don't write it. And I mean to say, it's compulsory not to write a wrong section number. Section numbers, definitely they are important to write. You will definitely be awarded more marks for writing the correct section numbers. But in case if you are in doubt in the examination, see to it that you don't mention the section number to be on a safer side. Sometimes the answer is completely correct. The section number is incorrect. Definitely the marks get cut. More marks get cut. Pertinently, I don't advise that you have to leave sections as such, but see to it that you memorize them properly. So this is mentioned in which section? Usually this one has been mentioned in section 2, subsection B of the Contract Act. Now fine, I said I'll explain what proposal is. As of now, I asked you, please remember it's an offer about something. So what exactly do you mean by a proposal? proposal means this is given in section 2 subsection E. So what does a proposal determine? Proposal refers to, in ordinary layman terms, money speaking terms, a proposal is something wherein a person makes an offer. So offer is offer to do something or not to do something. I'll explain it in the context of the definition given in your study material. As per Contract Act, so proposal is when one person signifies to another. Here nothing has been given, but for convenience sake I'm writing person in brackets so that it will be easier for you to understand. Signifies to another is assent to do or not to do anything, or his willingness, his willingness to do or not to do anything, with a view to obtain assent of another. Here again, as a rule, I'm just person to act or to abstain from doing anything. Then it is said, I'll just write it to you, write it over here. Then it is said that an offer had been made. So what do you mean by a proposal? The definition of this proposal is given in page number, the last pages have been given, that is in page number 1.24. So what exactly do you mean by a proposal? Proposal refers, a person is there, he has signifies to another person. Here person is not given, but please remember signifies. Signifies means he offers or he in a manner to express himself, or he asks him directly, saying that he is willing to do something. Like let's say he is willing to purchase something. Why does he do that? Or he is not going to enter into his premises. Why does he signify so and so? Why does he give this offer in the first place? Why? Because his main intention is to assent. Meaning the person should also accept his proposal or his offer to do or not to do anything. Then it is said that an offer had been made. See, the major words over here are signifies and an assent. Here a person has come to another person and he has said, okay, I'll do this particular act. Let's say a person, as I've explained about a fruit seller and so on. Let me say I have gone to a particular person to purchase a house property. I go to him and I say I'm willing to purchase a house property. What is my intention? I'm giving him an offer of selling that particular house property to me. Why? What is my view? To obtain assent from that person as well. Here the words one and another, please don't get confused. One is the first party to the transaction, another person is the second party to the transaction. What is it? I give my willingness to do a particular transaction, that is I want to purchase that house property and I give him an offer. What is my view? My view is I want him to sell that particular house property with a view to obtain assent of this particular another person. What is that? Please, either he is going to sell me that house property. So then that is called as my proposal. I've gone there with my proposal of purchasing his house. And what is my for certain valid consideration? Consideration means certain amount. I'm going to give him some money and then he is going to sell me that particular house. So this is called as what? I have gone to him with an offer. And what is my view here? My view is I want to obtain an assent. Assent means I mean to say exactly, he too should agree to sell his house property. Then it is called as a proposal. See, usually why are these definitions given in law quite, I can call it as messy or with more confusing words. See, usually in law, definitions are framed in such a manner that they are exhaustive. Sometimes they are exhaustive, sometimes they are not. They are exhaustive in such a manner so as to cover most of the transactions. Sometimes what happens is people take the advantage of a certain loophole in the definition and might defunct, or defunctments might not follow the law. So for that, for those purposes, the definitions are usually given in this manner. So hope you have understood what a proposal means. Proposal means a person. He says, I'm willing to do this act. And what is his main intention? He wants the other person also to accept this, to give an acceptance to this particular act, like either selling an house property or let me say going and purchasing fruits, or there can be the other way around. The seller is giving me an offer to purchase vegetables and so on. And what is my main intention over here? I want the other person also to give his assent. Assent means what? Agreement. Then it is called as an offer. I mean to say proposal. I have gone there with that particular proposal. Then this proposal should be accepted. Okay. Only if Mr. B accepts, let me say I'm Padma Priya, and only if Mr. let's say A has accepted my proposal of selling the house, then only it becomes an agreement. Mind you, then only it becomes an agreement. And after it has become an agreement, so what is the promise I have made? I have promised him, let's say I'm going to give him 50 lakhs. So Mr. B is going to give me or sell me that house property. So we have agreed for it. I've made a proposal or an offer. Mr. B had accepted it. So now an agreement had been made. What is this? We made a promise, and whether this promise has in consideration? Yes. What is my consideration? My consideration is the house property. And what is Mr. B's consideration? B's consideration is the money he is going to receive on that particular house property after the sale. Okay, till here fine. But can we call this as a contract? Yes, very much. Why? Because this particular agreement can be enforced in court of law. Yeah. Usually if it is not enforced in court of law, then it will not be called as a contract. This agreement we have agreed upon. Then this agreement should be enforced. It can be put certain court of law. Like in case if I'm not happy with the house property, let's say there are severe damages to house property. I'm not happy, but B had fooled me saying that everything is good in the house property. Then definitely this particular case can be enforceable in court of law. Yeah, I can go to law, I can put a suit against it and say, see sir, B had cheated me. Yes, then court will definitely take up this matter. Then, because it is enforceable in court of law, it becomes a contract. Hope you have understood it. Legal enforceability is compulsory for an agreement to become a contract. These are the major definitions of Contract Act. And as I've told you, page number 1.24, today I have taught you about section 2, section 2 subsection A, section 2 subsection B, section 2 subsection E and section 2 subsection H. So please try to by heart. In case if you have not understood, please let the administration know. I'll come back. Okay. Till here, hope everyone's understood. So to become a contract, the most important thing he has given a table over here. So what exactly? In page number 1.3. So what are the essentials of a contract? I'll put the heading as essentials of a contract. First and foremost, as I have discussed, there should be a proposal or an offer. Proposal or an offer. This proposal or an offer should be accepted. Accepted by the third party. Sorry, by the second party. Then the proposal accepted becomes what? The accepted proposal becomes a promise. It becomes what? It becomes a promise. An accepted proposal becomes a promise. Promise means what? There's an agreement. Agreement. Then what is the test? This agreement should be enforceable. Agreement should be enforceable. Enforceable in court of law. The agreement should be enforceable in court of law. When an agreement is enforceable in court of law, then it comes as a contract. It becomes a contract. So these are the essentials of an contract. So these are the aspects. Now I'll explain the difference between agreement and a contract. Agreement and then contract is another favorite of your examiner. So please note down the differences. These differences have been given in your study material as well in page number 1.3. I'll be explaining it under those presents. What is an agreement and what is a contract? So here I'll take the scope and meaning. First and foremost is the scope. Scope means what exactly it means. Scope. The second one is meaning, scope or meaning. Here he has given it separately, meaning. The next one is legal obligation, and next one is the nature. This also is one of the favorite questions of the examiner. So, what is the scope? Usually, agreement means it consists of all the terms. Like you agree with your parents to study well. Yeah. Can this be tried in court of law? Usually, no. You don't try. Like you have agreed or you made a promise to your parents saying that I will pass CA in flying colors or I'll get a rank in my CA foundation. What is that? It is an agreement with your parents. You made a promise. But do you think that can be enforceable in court of law? Can your parents sue you when you don't get a rank? No. That's just a social commitment. So it is just called as an agreement. It's not called as a contract. So in such situations, usually the scope of an agreement is wide. That is, it includes both social as well as legal aspects. Both social agreements as well as, or I'll call it as social as well promises and legal agreements. And contracts usually are narrowly defined because it consists of agreements enforceable by court of law. Agreements enforced in court of law. So this is called as a contract. So there's a meaning. Meaning we have just given. Meaning we have just given as set of promise or promises forming an forming a consideration for each other and contract is something that is taken as an agreement enforceable in court of law. Then comes legal obligation. Usually it does not create a legal obligation here, but whereas a contract, in case of a contract, a legal obligation is very much present. That is what, as I've told you, passing of CA. But when I'm selling a house property, is there any legal obligation? Yes, very much. In case if the terms of the agreement are not fulfilled, I can resort to court of law. So definitely a contract. And what is the nature? This is the thing which we usually keep on saying. What is it? All agreements are not contracts. Very important. But all contracts are agreements. Okay? All contracts are agreements. So this is basically the differences between agreements and contracts. In case of any doubts, please let me know. Hope you have understood the concepts. Mind you, understanding the concepts is quite essential in any kind of subject, either law, accountancy, or any kind of subject. In case if you have any doubts, please feel free to contact. And this happens to be very important act, both in the purview of examination as well as in your regular course study. Okay, thank you. I'll continue the session after a small break.